So thank you everyone for attending today's virtual careers fair and joining this in conversation session. Pleased we got four alums joining us with us today. So we got Nelsa Babu, who graduated in 2018 and is now a sustainability consultant. We have Chris Flynn, who graduated in 2014 and is a product manager. Martin Spray is also with us, who graduated in 1969 and is the former chief executive at the Wetlands Trust. And finally, we got Sandeep Sesodia, who graduated in 1982 and is a director at mgps Commercial. So this is a in conversation session, so please feel free to ask as many questions as you can. You can either do it by typing in the chat, physically raising your hand, or using the icons to get involved. So we suggest that you please do that. So obviously the theme today is centered around transferable skills. So Nelsa, would you like to kick us off?
Yeah, I'm sure. I mean, first I think Sean sent across the brochure thing that she sent out to students, who you guys sent out to students. I was like, oh my God, there's so many important people who've like graduated ages ago before I did. So I'd be taking my own notes from these people, especially Martin, Sandeep, Chris. I'm so glad to be even sharing the space with you guys. I really had a lot of fun in the previous session, so which is why I was like, yeah, I was going to do this one. I graduated, as Liam mentioned, thank you for the introduction. I graduated in 2018 in BSc Business Management. I did work in Cardiff, do an internship in marketing after that. And for the past 2 years, I've been working with KPMG in Dubai as a sustainability consultant. We help companies, organizations become better corporate citizens, helping them report on their non-financial performance and other ESG factors. So I'm really excited to be on here. One of the reasons why I came out here is because I was in the shoes of any graduating student back in the final year of uni, when you're freaking out, don't have a lot of work experience, and you don't know what makes you stand out compared to students who actually have this experience. So one thing that I found personally was really helpful that I had in me that I didn't know was useful at workplace was interpersonal skills. So during uni time, you do a lot of different activities. I don't want to keep going on before I know if this is okay because I know it's a short session. Am I doing okay? Do you want me to please feel free to stop me, because I can talk. I sure can talk. Thank you. Okay. So one thing again, as I was saying, interpersonal skills. You do a lot. I would suggest to go all out, right? So volunteering, societies, clubs, part-time jobs, any opportunity that comes your way, take it. You might not think it's valuable enough at the time, but when you go for a job opportunity after graduation, people don't only look at educational qualifications. They want these so-called transferable skills that makes you do well with a team. How well can you collaborate and work with a team? How well can you build your network, build relationships, maintain them? So these things you can't have by doing a course, and get a certificate. This is something that you have to develop over a period of time. Do mingle with people. Even going on a night out and meeting new people adds into your overall personal development. So I would suggest, my personal suggestion is just go all out. Take any opportunity. Don't worry about making any mistake, because at the end of the day, nobody's perfect. As long as you're doing something, taking every opportunity, there are employers who appreciate that. As long as you're passionate and you're willing to learn and you have these transferable skills like interpersonal, oral, communicating, etc. I'm sure the rest of the panel can talk more in depth. I would suggest to just go for it. And just do not do things thinking that you might not do well at it. Just go for it. That's all I have to say. Yeah, I hope that helps.
I think it's a great point, when you're talking about mistakes, and I've learned some of the most important things in my career by making huge mistakes, and I think being forgiven for some of those and obviously learning from those. For me, as I say, I graduated in 2014. I studied law and politics, and then did towards any of it, and went into work for sort of technical architecture in BT, and I sort of ended up in a products role. And products is an interesting job, product, because you are involved in pretty much every part of the company. You kind of have to know everyone's role. You tell salespeople how to sell, you tell marketers how to market, you tell developers how to develop, but you really can't do any of their jobs properly. You just sort of tell everyone what to do. So for me, it's very interesting. I've had a lot of oversight in a lot of different parts of companies, and when we talk about transferable skills, and one that's probably mentioned but not really explained is emotional intelligence and emotional empathy. There's this term that the management consultants McKinsey came up with, which is the idea of whole brain talent. And the whole brain talent basically is the idea that you don't just think about your job role, you're thinking about the other departments that interlock and weave in with your job role. When you're making decisions as a team, as an individual, as a manager, you are thinking of all those other people within your decision to make their lives easier. No department is a silo anymore. Everyone has to work together towards a common goal. For me, I'd say that is probably the most important, transferable skill, is the ability to understand how other people think, what their priorities are, what are important to them. And Nelsa, you spoke about sort of interviews as well. When you're going into an interview, and again, I do a bit of mentoring at Swansea University as well. And one of those things I say to the people I'm mentoring after we do sort of mock interviews is put yourself in the position of the person who's interviewing you, put yourself in that position of that hiring manager, and think about what they're going through. They're hiring, they're probably under pressure, they're probably busy already. Really do something to, wow them and understand, the position they're in. Again, it all links back to emotional intelligence, really.
I'm going to take a different spin on this about the transferable skills. We know what the obvious ones are. Nestle, you've mentioned them. Chris, you've mentioned them. There's a whole range of what I would call general transferable skills. And we talk about motivational, organization, time management. And, you mentioned emotional intelligence, adaptability, numeracy, literacy, all these kind of things. But there are two which are very basic, but you have them all the time. One of the most transferable skills is you yourself, because you're mobile. Okay. The other transferable skill, okay, is your qualification, because it's portable. Because at the end of the day, your degree is only the start. It's a measure. It's a yardstick of what you are capable of doing and developing on. But it is how you articulate this and adapt them and keep pace with change yourself and the career path that you choose. So you evolve and you demonstrate these things with specific examples, particularly when you go to interviews. And picking up the point Chris just mentioned, employers are looking for potential. You're not the finished article, but have you got what it takes? Will you fit in the team? For an employer, there is a risk in employing new people. Therefore, you have got to minimize that risk for them and demonstrate your skills. Show them what you've got, that you can actually learn all these new things. At the moment, the current economic climate being what it is, I think you've got great opportunities. From my perspective, we're looking to the next generation to move the economy, the workplace forward, because it is all changing. So the transferable skills that we're talking about now may be very transferable, different transferable skills in a few years' time. There are the technical skills that you're required, which may be IT literacy, being able to do spreadsheets. These are specifics. If you're a lawyer or in medicine, there are very specific professional qualifications. Accountancy, you've got to have different but these are professional technical skills. What we're talking about are the ones that all of us have, and that can be taken anywhere. So look at it from that point of view. And the other point I was going to make was that some organizations, these core transferable skills are actually their competencies for the job that you're applying for, and they may be embedded in the culture of that organization. So you've got to tie up all these bits to see where does it fit. Not just does it fit with the job requirements, but what about the organization itself that you're approaching to take forward. And so for me, all skills and abilities are transferable depending on where they're being transferred from and to.
Yeah, I don't want to gate crash the session too much because I mean I want to let the alumni talk, but just to back up what you're saying there, Sandeep, with some data. I used to use in my lecture. I used to use a slide from High Flyers, which is a survey that was taken in or a study that was done in 2017. That said that 74% of employers are completely degree agnostic. They don't care so much about what you've done as your degree. They care that you've demonstrated the skills to complete study at degree level. In a recent session I was in with the Institute of Student Employers, that's now gone even higher. We're now looking at around 80% of employers don't care what you've done for a degree. They care that you've got the adaptability, that you've got that you've demonstrated the skills. So I just wanted to,
I agree with you. Yeah, agree with you,
to back
Simeon.
that up with what you're saying with some data. So it's just really, really important point.
Yeah.
Can I come in on this one now, actually, because I've had a very long career, as you can imagine, actually, 47 years of it, 30 of them as chief executive of 3 different conservation organizations. And I would honestly say that I've got through that entire time not on technical skills at all. Quite the opposite. I graduated with a degree in zoology. I wanted to get into nature conservation. And in those days, there were not a lot of opportunities. I applied for one job in the Nature Conservancy Council and was not interviewed. When I followed up on it, over 1,500 people had applied for that job. So I ended up in a thing called the Science and Engineering Research Council, where I was put on the Secretariat of the Solar Systems Committee in the Astronomy, Space and Radio Division. And I said, I don't know a thing about this. And they said, well, you're not supposed to. That's what the panel are the experts in. I then had a career of 14 years in government service in various roles. And opportunism is one of them. I think take the opportunities as they come along. They may not be quite where you want to be in the future, and don't lose sight of any vision that you've got. But take those opportunities, because you never actually know the skills and the experience you've really built up. You don't actually think about them at all. They just happen over the years. And eventually, I did get into that conservation world that I wanted to, but not in the way I expected to. It came through management skills. Interpersonal skills are a big one, actually. Sensitivity to changing environments, changing people, people's agendas is really important stuff. It gives you that ability to be a diplomat, a negotiator, a motivator as well, in that sort of sense. So these are big skills that you can develop over those years. So you can find your way into something not necessarily by the route you expected, but because of the skills you're bringing towards it. So I hope that makes sense to you all.
No, I agree with you, Martin. You have to navigate. Not all of it comes day one. You have to learn the experience over time. These things come. Man management is a classic one. You know, when they say your competencies, and they say at the start, when you're junior, are you a team player? When you become a manager, can you manage a team? Very different. As you go higher and higher, become more senior, the expectancy of these competencies or transferable skills change.
Yeah.
And then you actually feel more and more comfortable about it as well.
Yeah. But I can even go back to early learning experiences when I was a student, and holiday jobs in factories and on building sites. I reckon I learned an enormous amount there, actually, about the people that were involved in that, the kind of lives they had, the kind of fun they could get out of jobs that I would never have imagined you could get that fun out of. And it left me with a mark of, of understanding people a bit more at quite a young age. And it was very, very worthwhile experience.
I did that for my summer job. I worked at Schweppes for the summer holidays. And the people skills and the knowing of the locals, what they thought, etc. Those people skills you can't necessarily get anywhere else. So you develop those. And one of the things that I learned a long time, and I mentioned it the last session, was be the personality that you are rather than what people want you to be. That way you relax, your confidence grows, and you can learn and adapt to a lot more things.
Yeah. Yeah, agreed.
I'd say, just picking up on something you said there, Martin, about being able to embrace change and things like that. I think understanding how, again, I think, look, I've been very fortunate in, working in different size companies, to receive quite a lot of these sort of training sessions where they talk you through the science of it. It's not something that, I suppose it's something you could learn yourself if you knew where you were looking. But if you don't know where to look, you never find out. But I mean, one of the things that I certainly have picked up on in regards to change and nowadays is managing change, is looking at things like, the Kubler-Ross curve, looking at the actual science of how change happens and how it affects people within your organization. And as when you come in a more junior role, being able to understand how change happens and not only how it affects you, being able to actually work out how change affects you. I mean, I know, when change happens in an organization, I know where I go on that curve, so I can expect it, and I can sort of dampen any negative effects, so it's not going to affect any of my colleagues or anything like that. But also understanding how your colleagues and even your manager, and then later on your team members, how change affects them, and you can mitigate some of the negatives in that. The best kind of organisations are organisations where different people are employed. If you want a great workplace, hire people who are different. And there's this old saying, treat people how you would like to be treated, and that's wrong. Treat people how they want to be treated, and treat people how that they need to be treated. Everyone learns differently, everyone thinks differently, and understanding. And again, it's all linked to these sort of broad terms, as Sandeep, as you said. It's all broad term, but it's just granular on it. Is understanding how different people think is going to help you make decisions as a team, as an organisation better. How you develop, how you deliver messages to people. Some people like it blunt. For me, example, I want people. I want to hear bad news straight away, and I want it to be as direct as possible. Other people don't like it like that, and you have to learn that and build those relationships. And that's how a great organisation works: is when everyone is thinking like that.
And I think at the moment, in the virtual climate that we're living in, these spontaneous interactions aren't taking place. So you're having to do them virtually. And one of the things is that your body language is exaggerated. So your facial features, your eyebrows, what you do that you normally get away with in a room full of people, actually people can see you. So I think that's one of the things that you have to be very, very careful of. The other thing, Chris, I was going to pick up on the point you made was actually, who drives the culture of an organization? The leadership or the people who are working there?
Bottom up is always the way I say. I say your employees need to set that culture.
Yeah.
I've seen organizations where people, where top down have tried to put in the core values, and it doesn't work if you don't care about it. If employees don't care, what's the point?
No, I think there was a Cambridge University Judge Business School MIT webinar a few weeks ago, and it talked about culture in organizations. They made exactly that point. Often it isn't the leadership, it's actually the people that they employ who are driving the culture of that organization forward, because they're younger, leaner, hungrier when they come in, and the other guys move and change with time anyway.
Absolutely. I mean, I've been very fortunate. One of the places where I was a member of the senior management team was a place that won best place to work in IT 2 or 3 years in a row, beating like huge organisations like Lloyd's and RBS to the post. And we've seen how to implement a perfect culture, and it comes from the employees, and it has to change with the employees as well. And it goes beyond free pizza. I think that's what a lot of leaders think, is free pizza and stuff like that. But it's not. It's flexibility. It's understanding your staff and making sure that all your staff understand each other as well.
So just to jump in there, we've had a few questions in the chat. So I don't know if you can see the question there, Martin, but we have got a question for yourself. It says, what would be your advice for students who are looking to work in conservation? You said that you started working in a different field, so would you suggest to take up the job where you can get transferable science skills, even if it's not specific to conservation work? And is there anything you would say would be good for students to start doing before they begin work?
I mean, it is difficult. There are far more opportunities in the conservation world than there were in my time when I left Swansea University. But this is a difficult climate, as you can imagine. A lot of people do get in it through volunteering, but that's tricky in the sense you've got to be able to afford to do that, and I think that's hard. But if I go back to the organizations I've been chief executive of, if you look at the range of skills, they mirror any company around the country. We have, marketing team, communications team, government policy team, IT, HR, finance. It's all there. All of those organizations function on these whole range of different skill bases. But everyone there is on the same mission. That's the great thing about it. So it may be that if you find that it's difficult to get into the conservation world simply because of competition and experience, try some other things first, build up your skills in other ways. And maybe if you can get employment in other fields, you can do some part-time volunteering as well, which gets you connected with people in that conservation movement. That might be the way. It means a bit of patience, means a bit of flexibility, but if you've got your end goal in mind and you don't lose that, then I think that's worthwhile to try to guide yourself around in other ways if you can.
I was asked to get, yeah.
Volunteer. I just wanted to say that any students of Swansea University, if you are struggling to afford to volunteer, we have an employability bursary. It's on the My Uni site, so feel free to go there. Please do apply for it. We always say this to students.
Okay.
There's things there that are available to support you.
I was going to say on the back of what Martin's just said, I was asked to give a lecture at Solent University in Southampton, because that's one of my local universities, about careers in accountancy and finance. And this was to the School of Business and Management. So I asked them what they thought the careers that they had and that were possible for them given the degree they were going to get. And they all thought that it would go into accountancy or audit. So I said, what do you think accountants do? And they basically said, oh, well, we number crunch. I said, no, you build relationships. You get to know businesses, clients, okay? And by the way, a degree in accountancy or finance or, economics doesn't limit you to becoming an accountant, because some of the great finance directors of organizations or managing directors actually have a financial background or a degree where they started. So you have actually a whole host of jobs with your degree. As I said at the outset, it's only a yardstick, and you develop the interest, a lot of it by volunteering, but you've got to have a passion for some of the things that you do. You can't just volunteer. I mean, a lot of the career that I've had in the last 10 years has been through voluntary work in addition to my job, because I was the chair of the Chamber of Commerce, because I'm the chair of a city council business group, which is a private and public sector, because I do a lot of work for Rotary, and I'm a governor at a school. But you pick up all of these things, not because of your job, because you have an interest in these things, and that actually makes your actual job better.
Can I just add that the way I got into conservation in the end, working for government, was indeed volunteering in my own time. And I helped to set up a Worldwide Fund for Nature, WWF group in Wiltshire, ended up as chairman of it, fundraising for WWF. Now, fundraising was never something that really inspired me, that I wanted to do, but I met some great people. I also got connected with the organization. And then one Sunday evening, after 2 or 3 years of doing this work, I got a phone call to say, we've got a vacancy. It was a lot less money than I was earning. And it was working with volunteer groups within WWF. And that's what kicked the whole thing off. It wasn't predicted, it wasn't designed. That's what happened. So I hope that encourages people that you can do these things, you can.
Yeah, definitely. And we've got another question as well. I think this... Oh, sorry, go on, Nesla.
Hello. Oh, no worries. So just as I was like listening to this, I felt like in my journey, basically, so I was a business management student and I'm a sustainability consultant now. It's really pulled apart, like it's nothing related to what I studied. So while I was at uni, I was really keen to make myself stand out a little bit compared to other sustainability consultants or business management graduates. So what I did was I used to find short courses, short certificate courses, like 3 months or 4 months. If there's any workshops or anything on the side, or like 1-year diplomas or anything, especially now most of it is virtual, that could be really good to go towards the line that you want to, even if it's not your, even if you're not doing the exact degree that you want to do, like you want to pursue afterwards. Doing these short courses can help you a lot, or attending conferences, online conferences, like LinkedIn is the perfect place for that. There's so much happening, especially because because of the COVID situation. There's so many amazing people coming on webinars and like online conferences. So I would definitely suggest to do that, because people wouldn't be expecting you to go out of your way when you're doing a full-time degree. Because every year, if you think about it, there's so many students graduating with the same exact degree that you've done. But what makes you stand up? What makes the employer go like, oh wait, this person has gone out of the way to do this course despite they're doing a full-time degree. So yeah, I think that's something you could definitely look into and will really help. That's the reason why I'm doing what I'm doing. Because when I started my job right now, I had no clue about what sustainability was. Everything was like just online information that I read about, no educational qualification, and I was interested in it. So as long as you have a bit of background research and information and you're keen to learn, I think you're good to go. Yeah.
So, sorry, Chris, I was actually going to ask you a question that's popped up in the chat. So Harry said, on the subject of transferable skills, what would you find appealing in a prospective hire?
So I've probably like a number of people on the panel as well, I've done hundreds, if not thousands, of interviews for staff and managed teams in a lot of different areas as well. But for me, the most important transferable skill, as I said before, is probably that emotional intelligence, is the ability to understand what other people think, how they think, and how to come to sort of a consensus together. I was just going to sort of drop in and just speak on Nesla's point there about what you do at uni. Hardly ever. Now, again, a lot of our friends and that didn't end up in what they studied. You know, I did law and politics, and now I work in software in high tech. I don't really know how to code, and I don't have sort of any of the skills that you'd expect from a technical product manager. But it's some things that I've had the ability to learn, and the other things that other transferable skills, the ability to sort of time management, planning, and that sort of thing has been how I've ended up in this role. And I'd say as well is take the opportunities that you're given as well. And another thing we haven't mentioned is be present online as well. The last 2 jobs that I have been headhunted for were because of my presence on LinkedIn. People have seen things I post, and obviously have sort of started sort of friendships and relations with me via LinkedIn. I've got something like 12 or 13,000 followers on LinkedIn now, which is a great presence. So if I want to put something out there, a lot of people see it. And for me, that's been vital in me moving through my career, is get involved in LinkedIn.
That's a great point, Chris, because a lot of employers looked at LinkedIn, and you remember what I said earlier about being the person and personality you are. They see the kind of person you are on these platforms to judge, is this the kind of person that will fit in our team, and so on and so forth. So yeah, also be careful about the activity you put on there as well. But it goes hand in hand with a lot of your business style of things you do on LinkedIn, but be careful, they look at Facebook as well.
We again, I've done interviews in a lot of different places, and I suppose if you're talking about interviews, and going back to that question about interviews, clean up your social presence online is the first thing, because you may not think it, but we check. We really do check, and we check thoroughly as well. And I suppose as well as when you're putting in your CV, put down what you've done. Don't extrapolate. We will find out.
We do have another question. It's for yourself, Martin. Would you say there is marine conservation opportunities in Wales at the moment?
Marine conservation?
Yeah.
Well, yes. I mean, there should be, definitely, in the sense that we now have marine protected areas, which are not being protected particularly well. So I would hope that there will be opportunities. There is a lot of ideas being put forward to the government at the moment about green recovery from this situation, especially the economic recovery, and the idea of green jobs, basically. There could be a very good way of injecting new employment into the country through green measures. Marine conservation would be one of those. So I'm hoping that the government are going to take notice of it, because we are heading, it looks, for some serious unemployment issues, certainly in the short to medium term. And green recovery is something that is being pushed strongly at the government at the moment. We don't know where they're going to go on this, but I would hope that marine would be one of the big issues, because the marine environment is a massive priority for the whole of us globally at the moment, not only in the UK.
Yeah.
So I would hope in Wales that there would be opportunities for that. I would advise anyone who's really interested in marine to keep in touch with the Marine Conservation Society. They're based in Ross-on-Wye. Well worth looking at their website. I had the privilege of being chairman of it for 5 years. Great organisation, and they will be very much at the forefront in pushing the government on marine issues.
Fantastic. So we're at 3 o'clock now. So if our students need to shoot off to another session or anything like that, please do so. If not, if you, Nelsa, Sandeep, Chris, Martin, if you did want to have a final word on anything, you're all very welcome to have your say now, and we can run on for a little bit longer. But again, if you need to shoot, please feel free to shoot off.
No, I'm happy to stay on.
I'm happy. Ditto. Yeah, I can stay on for a little longer.
Nelsa, did you have anything you wanted to perhaps say? Any other bits of advice for our students?
I think I'm just going to repeat what I said at the start, if anybody missed it. It's basically just take out any way, even if it is volunteering, part-time jobs, working in groups, group assignments, building presentations, working on Excel. Like, I didn't know how important Excel would be in my life back in uni. If I had known, I would have put in some extra hours into it. Like, I'm working on PowerPoints every day, Excels every day, like PowerPoint for all BD, business development work, all proposals. If I had known this, I would have taken an actual course on it. So I would definitely suggest that all of these things that you're working on right now will add up and pay off big time. So please spend some time when you're at it, because in uni time you're not getting paid for it, but when you're at job you're actually getting paid for it. So yeah, just take up any opportunity and have fun and make mistakes and learn from it, like Chris said. Yeah, that's about it from my side. Thank you.
I can confirm that Excel is life. One of the things that I talk about a lot, and I don't stop talking about it really, is data. Data. Everything you do is data. And if you talk about, I mean, I suppose it depends on the role you're in, but if you take data seriously and you take data processing and data and reading data seriously within your role, your employer, and that will respect you massively, because it's a big trend that's coming, which has been coming for the last couple of years. Again, there's something, if you're ever interested in it, read up on the single source of truth. In our organization, we don't make a decision unless there is data behind it. We are a data-driven organization. It's big in the consultancy world as well. And that's something which is, hugely important. No, one thing I will say is that while we've been on this chat, and since I made the point about LinkedIn, some of you have already gone on to LinkedIn and followed me. So well done for you guys. That's as I say, that is important. I think the last thing that I'd say for me is be a problem solver. Don't come to a meeting or don't come to your manager with a problem. Come with the problem and a solution. And I think that's so important in gaining the trust of your manager and being someone who they can turn to as you move for an organisation. I report directly to a CEO. My CEO doesn't see 90% of the problems that happen in my organisation because we fix them before he even hears about them, and that's why I have his trust, and that's massively important. There's a question. I don't know if there's a question there about data processing.
Yeah.
While the program. To be honest with you, Excel does the job the majority of the time. Depending on what you go into, you might want to use other organizations about how you're going to use it. So CRMs, client relationship management software, are massively important in what we do, because again, what we do is finding the right prospect in order to sell to them. So looking at things like Salesforce, HubSpot, Goldmine, ACT, they're important, but Excel is king. I don't know. I don't use anything other than Excel for actual data manipulation.
Can I just support Chris strongly on the LinkedIn thing? Most of the CEOs, at least of all the conservation organisations around the country, are on there. I'm on there. You can keep an eye on what's going on that way. I'd also tune into the websites of most of these organisations too, because you'll get blogs on there of various kinds, and you can keep up with the issues that are going on. I see a question is there about how to be successful in an interview. Always research the organisation you're going to thoroughly. Make sure you're there. I mean, sometimes I've tripped people up where I've sort of said, well, have you looked at the website? And it's quite clear they haven't. Really research it. Research and tease out of it the bits that you think are absolutely relevant to the job you're going to. There's just ways in which you can just arrive at the interview. What it does for you is it gives you more confidence, and that then comes across. So there are just techniques like that I think are worth thinking about.
Also, see if you can find out information about the person interviewing you. Look at their LinkedIn profile.
Yeah. See
what their interests are. Is there common ground that you can do the icebreaker at the interview by talking about things like this?
Yeah.
There's a question. Sorry, I was going to say there's a question on the chat about if you thought a job was going the wrong way, what did you do about it? Well, I think this is one of the things where you are always in a position where you don't always have your eggs in one basket. You always are looking for a variety of different things that you'd like to do. And if one thing doesn't work, then you can actually start making the steps to go in the other direction. I remember being put on a project management part because I'd been very successful on the new business side. So they said, can you design a system for us? I didn't know the first thing about designing systems, but I used it as an opportunity to learn about doing things like that. But once I got to the level where I knew, actually, you know what, this is not what I want, I then made sure that I kept my contacts within the areas I was strong at and liked, and then pursued my career that way. One of the things I was going to mention earlier on is, remember, we are interacting and networking from the day we're born. It's only that we get older, we become conscious about it.
And again, when you talk about the interview, it all goes back to that fact of put yourself in the shoes of that hiring manager. Their time is valuable. And again, the amount of times I've walked into an interview and it's you guys have probably been in the same position as well, where it's obvious someone hasn't prepared for the interview. It's obvious that they haven't taken the time. But I've taken an hour out of my day, which I've still got 100 other things to do, but I've taken the time out to do that. And it's so important that they see your time as valuable as well, and that goes a really, really long way. And on our interviews as well, I mean, I want to just drop in about Swansea's Employability Academy as well, and some of the work that I know some of us do with them. There are mentors, so I do mentoring. There's a load of people who work in business who do mentoring, mock interviews. If you're serious about getting ahead, get in touch with them, because they really do offer a great service. And again, you get people like our time for free, which is unheard of if you were out of university.
And we have another question. I believe this is from Martin again. Is there much conservation volunteering in Swansea?
That I'm not too aware of, really. You've got a local wildlife trust that covers Glamorgan and Pembrokeshire. RSPB, of course, are quite strong in Wales as well. But I'm not intimately sort of aware of conservation volunteering opportunities there. I should imagine with the Gower on your doorstep, there's bound to be some opportunities. You've just got to explore them, I think, and see. And if you've got any questions, then as with Chris, I'm on LinkedIn. Sort of get in touch if you want any information at any time, and if necessary, I'll try and research it for you as well.
Fantastic. So, anything else from our alums, or anything for the alums? I'll take that as a no. So, no, thank you all for your time, Chris, Nelsa, Martin, and Sandeep. Really appreciate it. And thanks to all the students as well for getting involved and coming along. If you've got another session, then enjoy that as well. But no, thank you all. And again, I'm sure you'll have a few LinkedIn requests after this and a few questions coming your way, which is great. But no, thank you so much for being a part of it. And hopefully we can set something like this up again.
Cheers. Thank you.
Fantastic.
Thank you.
Thanks. Bye-bye. Bye.
Bye.